Take the Leap is the podcast where we get real about the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship and life. Sure, some folks make running a business look like a walk in the park, but let's be honest, it's more like a wild ride through a theme park with a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Join us, your co-hosts, Ashlyn
and Tori,
as we spill the beans on our own real-life experiences and shine a spotlight on some amazing guests. From the highs of success stories to the lows of epic failures. And hey, we'll even throw in some cringe-worthy, laugh-out-loud, embarrassing moments for good measure.
So buckle up and tune in every Tuesday and Thursday for a dose of raw, unfiltered truth about what it's really like to chase your dreams and build a business.
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just dipping your toes into the startup world, we've got something for everyone. Even if it's just to make you think, wow, I'm glad I didn't do what they did.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Take the Leap. We are so excited for today's guest. Samantha Pollack is an editor and copywriter for service providers, authors, activists, academics, neurodivergent nerds, and other smart and cool people. She's known for her ability to see the gold nuggets in what you write and craft a voice and a message that could only come from you. Sam is the creator of The Craft, a workshop-style copywriting course designed to help you speak about your work with eloquence, power, passion, and clarity. As a copywriter, she's worked behind the scenes of some big, fancy launches in the coaching, online marketing, and course creation space. So she has a lot of tricks and hot goss up her sleeves. As an editor, Sam helps emerging authors develop their manuscripts from almost there to actually really finally done, whether they're sending it out to potential agents or moving forward with self-publishing. Welcome to the podcast, Sam. We're so excited to have you.
Hi. I'm excited to be here.
And for those of you who don't know, we know you through our fun group, the Commonwealth, that I know we've talked about in our emails and online before, where it's just a really fun group of entrepreneurs where we help each other and we help refer each other and just kind of share resources. And I think it's just a really cool way of doing business. So yeah, we're really excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
And yeah, and we'd like to start off all of our podcast episodes by asking the same question. And that's, what is your Take the Leap story? Meaning, what inspired you to start your own business and take the leap?
Yeah, so I have kind of two versions of an answer for this, because the first time I technically started my own business was because of a relocation, and I had a totally different career that is very different from what I'm doing now. So it wasn't like I dreamed of having my own business like all my life, and then I finally did the thing that I've been dreaming of. It was like I had a career with a job, and then I moved to a city that didn't have that same kind of career path. I was a personal trainer, and I was doing it in Boston. And I was like working at this fancy gym. Like, I was making a lot of money, and I was very burned out and busy, but it was a W-2 job basically. When I got here to Asheville, North Carolina, where I live now, that whole career path was like not a thing. So if I was to keep doing it, I mean, people have personal trainers here, but if I was to keep doing it, it was all contract based. So I essentially was like, well, I'm going to have to pay my own taxes now and like do all the things that business owners have to do. So that's how I started my first business, was just like kind of because I had to. And I did a really bad job of all, like, I was good at being a personal trainer. And there's a whole tangent there where I went to nutrition school and tried to be a health coach. And I have a lot of wellness baggage about that we don't need to get into. But like the part where I was working with a person, helping them do a thing, I was good at that part. But the business part of it, I was real bad at. Like I owed so much money in taxes those first couple of years. I had a whole like health insurance like snafu with like getting my own health insurance. And that was right when the Affordable Care Act came out. And I had to give back all my subsidy at one point. It was rough. So yeah, but that didn't really feel like a leap. Like okay, there was a lot of exposure during that time to entrepreneurial language about taking the leap. Like that was like how I learned my introduction into the world of entrepreneurship and all of the coaches and fancy like messaging and stuff around that. A couple years later, I had been like trying to make ends meet and working in many jobs as a health related person. But I was also doing a lot of writing on the side. And one of the things that I liked the best about having that business was that I got to do so much writing. I loved writing my own website copy. I wrote like a bunch of, like fucking sugar cleanses and shit like that. I did all that stuff. But like, if you look at the writing, if you look back at it, diet culture aside, the writing is good. Like, I would have liked to do that compared to other, health professionals offering the same thing. So when I realized, what I would really like to do is just write and get paid to do that. That was in 2015. And that's what really felt like the leap for me, because it also felt like something clicked there that I realized had been true about me my whole entire life that I never knew, which was that I've always been a writer and I've always been really good at writing and I've always liked writing. And, I used to get in fights with like my mom, and instead of talking to her, I'd write her a letter. And they were like really good letters. So yeah, that felt a little more dangerous too, because it felt, I don't know, like a risky thing to become a copywriter, a writer. I'm going to pause.
I
feel like it's for a long time.
No, it's all good. I feel like that is, it's one of those hard things to do, because everybody's just like, well, I can write words, or I can make it sound good, good. And it's like, it's not as easy as people put it off, or like put it to be. And then I was just reading something the other day. I don't know if you wrote it. Maybe you wrote it. I don't know. Maybe somebody in the Commonwealth wrote it, but they were talking about why like all CEOs, like they have like these headbutts with CMOs, because they all think they can do marketing and they all think that they can do marketing great. But it's like, no, some of them really suck at it, unless they came through the path and really understand like the human behavior that underlies all effective marketing, copy, how we talk to people, because it's more of a human problem. It's less of a like I don't want to say like a business problem, but it is like connecting one-to-one humans as well. And then we will eventually talk about the craft. But like, honestly, when I read your copy for the craft workshop, I was like, that is me. That is where I need to be. I want to be working better on my writing. So like you got me right away.
Yeah.
As soon as I like read that.
I did it.
Like, yes, you did it. I was like, I need to know this person, because like that is how I want to be able to like write, to see yourself, to feel, to feel that like this is a thing that I'm supposed to be involved in. So so thank you for making that space.
Thank you. Absolutely. And there's like a couple things you said too that I feel like it's powerful. Like you were saying that, when you first went out, you didn't really take the leap. You were, starting it out of need and stuff like that. But I feel like that's also a very common story with entrepreneurs, is they start with one thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's out of need or, just kind of like an idea that they had. And often like that's the thing that like plants that seed of like, oh, I can do this. Like maybe this isn't what I want to do forever. And they start another business elsewhere. But I feel like before I started my own business, like I've always done stuff on the side. Like I've always done really random projects and like tried to get paid in random ways. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that part of the story is like, it probably did impact you quite a bit on your journey there. So yeah, I just think that's a really funny, common thread that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have of like, I started doing this.
You're right. And when I started writing full time, I got jobs. I didn't like start a copywriting business. I got an in-house job, and then I got another in-house job. So I had two back to back, and they both had pros and cons. But the reason I started my like official copywriting business is because I got fired from my second job. because those guys were misogynists and they hated me.
Because you were probably better than them at the thing
God.
that they wanted to be good at.
This one time, I'm not like technically allowed to talk about it, but I don't think they are paying attention to me anymore. And it was and I think they've sold the company since then too, so it's probably fine. But I wrote such a great freaking line of copy for this ad based on this graphic. I'm not going to say what it was, but I was so fucking proud of it. I was like, amazing. Look at this. I showed it to everyone, and everyone on the team was like, yes, yes. And they just would never have approved anything that I did just because I was the one who did it.
That's so frustrating. I feel like, what is it about writing? I think it's in the graphic space too. And like you were saying, Ashlyn, with people thinking they know how to do marketing. There's like some ego in the, like, a lot of like higher leadership spaces when it comes to writing. They're like, well, I wrote this letter, so you just need to send it as is because this came from me, this came from my heart. And then I've had to tell people before, like, that's great, but this doesn't match our brand, so or this is something kind of offensive, so I get what you're trying to say. Thank you for getting your thoughts out. Can we reword this?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times, like, and I wouldn't consider myself a copywriter. I was in charge of marketing, so I was just in charge of everything. But I can't tell you how many times I have suggested rewrites or I've rewritten something and they were like, well, no, because this is me. Like I have to make a stand about how I say. I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
And I would just give up a lot of times.
And a lot of times they are writing it as if they're writing it to themselves, which I'm like, that is not the person who's reading it.
Right.
That you are not always your customer. Like
you guys are
9 times out of 10, you're not. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is what Tori has just brought up, is so many times I've come across this, that a client, a business owner, founder, whatever, is so and I get it, because like if you started a company because you wanted to start a company, regardless of what it is that you offer, and it's like your vision. I'm very attached to my vision for Indie Copy Studio, and I have things about my brand that I like that I don't really care if anyone else but I also think they don't matter, right? Like my aesthetic is a little punk rock, and like it doesn't like matter if, you know, my client understands punk rock per se. It's just a black and red, you know. It doesn't, if they don't get it, they don't get it. But I think when you're making decisions about like nitpicking apart a piece of creative work, like a graphic, it happens to designers all the time, especially like, I don't like that color. And the question is like, well, it doesn't really matter what you like. It's so hard because it doesn't not matter. Like, I want you to like your things that you put out into the world, but like you were saying, do they like it? Like, what are you trying to communicate here? This color that you may like or not like, or like this way that you wrote this thing, it doesn't make sense. You wrote something that makes no sense. So it's really hard for people to get out of their ego and get out of their, and I don't even mean that in like the negative connotation of the word ego, just like it's very hard to see with eyes that aren't your own eyes.
Yeah. You have your own your own bias.
Yeah.
In every, you know, yeah. And you have to be aware of when that is coming in and have that more customer client centric lens in all of the things that you do.
I wish there was a way to articulate that super clearly to clients, that like the skill is empathy. Like the skill is being able to step outside the you and you. And I'm like looking back and putting myself in someone else's shoes. That's what the best marketers, you know, do really well, is like inhabit the kind of brain of somebody else.
Exactly. And that's kind of the whole point. And that's really the whole point of them hiring people like you and us. Like,
it should be.
It should be. Yeah. Like we're a third party. We, you know, we're not in your brain, so we can see things a little more clearly. Plus, we are always asking those questions.
Yes.
Okay, who is this for? What does that person need to hear? How are we going to present it to them? And if you hand me copy that I know isn't going to reach them, I'm going to suggest changes. And yeah, if it takes a really good leader to look at that and be like, oh, this is not about me. This is not about my ego. Like, I wrote this, I put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's a great starting point, but I'm going to trust that this person knows what they're doing and wants what's best for the customer. So yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting field we're all in. For sure.
Sure is.
So
awesome. Okay, reining us back into the questions.
Yes, thank you.
But we will continue to go on tangents. I just know we will.
The whole podcast is just one tangent after the other, I feel like.
But yeah, what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself when you started, knowing what you do now?
Don't listen to any of these motherfuckers. Don't listen to any of them.
I am just gonna clip that out and post that everywhere. And then I'm also going to just listen to you on a loop, like every morning when I start my workday.
Yeah.
Because I need that.
I mean, for real, if this current version of Sam could go back to like 2015 Sam, I would absolutely want to tell her. I knew it right then. Like the very first job I ever had as a copywriter, my boss at this company was like, he had this very like, I'm going to take you under my wing kind of vibe. Right. That face. And like, he was like, he had all the things, and he came from the MLM world, which should have been a red flag, but I didn't know enough about, I didn't really know shit about the MLM world. Except for when I moved to Asheville, everyone was like doing that, you know? It was like, you go to a networking meeting and everyone's like, do you want to talk about my like skincare business? Which is like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Leggings,
skincare. Yeah.
Quick tangent. You don't have your own business. You work for someone else.
You have the shittiest franchise known to man.
Yeah. Yes.
Basically.
For sure. So he had everything. He had like every course, every book, every whatever. And he like gave me access and actually like assigned me, like had me read this book, Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. And this book was so offensive to me on every level. This guy is such a misogynist prick. He is so full of himself. The whole book was like, I'm an ex-blogger and I'm going to like expose the like unethical, like shitty ways that the blogosphere works. And the reason why like it's like yellow journalism in the whatever historical period yellow journalism was a thing. Which is, and so like because of like the pay-per-click model, like bloggers, I'm not going to explain his whole thesis. I don't remember it that well, but the whole vibe was like, it's like an expose, except really he was just bragging about all the shit that he was able to do. And also there was so many typos in this book. So
oh God,
many.
Nobody reviewed it?
No, like not like, you know, I feel really smart because I was reading this book and there was one typo that they misspelled somebody's name, and I went back and checked a bunch of times. It was also a really confusing book, so I thought maybe she did it on purpose. No, it was like on every page. And I know, sorry, I've been talking about him for too long, but my point is, to answer your question, like I really deferred to these like experts for so long. And like, I'm glad in a way that I like spent time kind of like soaking up whatever there was to learn. But I don't think, in fact, I know none of the things I learned about marketing from 2015 to like 2017 made me a better writer at all. Mm-hmm. Not even a little bit. Some things about copywriting I learned from my first writing mentor, who I found before I even started my personal training business. I just started a blog because I relocated. That was my big leap. I relocated and left my whole life behind for a man. I had no idea what I was going to do professionally when I got here, but I found this writer, Ash Amberjay, who I was like super into for a really long time. And she had a copywriting course right before I took the leap into copywriting. So I learned copywriting from her, but all the other like marketing tactics, and it was bro marketing before we called it bro marketing. Mm-hmm. I was like immersed in it. And I just wish that someone, ideally future me, would have like let that version of me know, like, you're right. You're not wrong. You're right. You're right. This kind of marketing, like good writing, can make money. My beef with it at the time was that the writing was terrible. If you wrote like a Jeff Walker style email, or like Frank Kern was one of the big guys back then, their emails sucked. They were like shouty and rude and bad to read. And it really stuck with me because I was like, I thought the whole point of this was like, I get to write. And some of the first copywriting jobs I had, I was writing this beautiful shit. I was like writing epic poems for people's websites, and I was so into it. And I was like, pay me $50, I'll do that. I'll do it for nothing. Yeah, I kind of miss like that. I don't know, innocence, just joy, just like being so excited to write about anything. Gotten jaded in my old age.
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's actually a really, really good response, because it's so true. Like that, especially that like 2015 time era.
Yeah,
like that was like the girl boss, like hustle culture era too, which was awful. And I just remember like every book I read like was like a business book that like some rich white man wrote, and they all gave like the same bro-y hustle culture vibes, and none of it was helpful.
No.
But like those were the things that like I was told to read and aspire to be, and none of that helped me. None of that served me well, and I know probably all of us are in that same boat. So like, yeah, that's a really good reminder of where we've come from.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good advice for your younger self, but also just for like other people going into business now. Like I feel like there's like that, okay, well, I need to find myself a mentor, and I need to find this, and it's like, okay, yeah, maybe, but make sure you listen to the right people. Make sure if you're going to listen to advice, make sure you're listening to people who are real. And if they're, teaching you about copywriting, but they can't write an email, like maybe that's a sign.
Or another I would add, if they're really successful or whatever, and you're learning how to write from them, but you don't like reading their writing, I wouldn't maybe study with that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Well, just kind of switching gears just a little bit. What's your why? Why do you do what you do now? What keeps you inspired and going?
Oh gosh. Well, I was just writing an email to my list about this that I've scrapped because I was lost in the sauce. But so the way I've been writing my newsletters lately is I write a newsletter on a Sunday, and then the following Sunday I write like a breakdown of the writing craft that I used in the previous email. And people have been really liking it so far. I've been liking it because it gives me this like cadence that is like, I don't know, just I'm doing something different every week. But then sometimes I can just write I can just write some random little essay about whatever I want. It doesn't have to be about marketing or selling because I'm like demonstrating a piece of craft. Anyway, one of the recent ones that I did was this long form think piece that I wrote about what we were just talking about like shady business coaches and B-school launch schedules and stuff like that. And in trying to break that down, I was like, I can't break this down. How do I teach people how to write a long form think piece? I can't. But I was like, I think the why is more important. Why would I write something like that? And my answer was like, I can't not. I just have to write stuff like that. I just have, like, not all the time, but I have these thoughts and I'll be like stewing on something for a really long time. Like the connection between the way my very first boyfriend used to make me feel and the very first, like, I don't know, like business coach that I had who was like, focused on the words that you say instead of what you're saying, and how that somehow connects to this style of marketing that I learned when I first started out, and how that all traced back to like pickup artist culture, and how then all those people are the Marie Forleos and the Amy Porterfields, like all the marketing system was born out of that same place, and like what it was like to work on a B school. Anyway, I know I'm not making sense, but in my mind, I'm like, somehow these things are all connected to me and I can't stop thinking about it. Like, I'll be like thinking about it when I wake up in the morning, or just be like musing on it. I'll sit down and try to write something about it once or twice, and I'll do what I just did verbally, which is start with one thing and then end up way over here and be like, what is happening? And then I'll leave it for a while. But sooner or later, has to come out. Like, it has to exist or I won't be able to stop. Like, it's not like an obsessive, intrusive thought, but it's just an idea that must exist on paper. It just has to. Part of the reason why I do what I do is because I don't think I could do anything else. It's not really that inspiring, but I just, I can't, I have to work with words. I'm very obsessed with words and language, and I am very fascinated and just like in love with language, like the way that language changes, and like look at how language has changed just in the past 10 years. I think the better writers are the ones who can keep up with that and not like argue about grammar. But also I like grammar. Like, I don't know. I'm just happy. I'm happy working on words. And I'm also really gratified by the kinds of business owners who are like in the Commonwealth with us. The people that I have like tried really hard to like, reorient my career. So I'm like working for the kind of people who are really committed to doing work in this good way, like a sharing economy, doing work that literally makes the world better in some way, big or small. Yeah. It's so important to me to help people like figure out how to articulate what they do, because they're so good at what they do. Like you guys both, so like smart and have such a breadth of knowledge and personality and like interest and like varied skill set. It's really hard to do this for your own self, to like put that into words that express clearly what it is that you do, but then also express it in a way that makes other people want to be around you and work with you. That you also somehow enjoy putting those words together and putting them out to the world. That's so rewarding to me. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, you can definitely tell you have a passion for words and what you're doing, that's incredible. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in preparation for this episode, I was rereading the sales landing page for the craft, and there's somewhere on there, either in that or in the workshop docs you've already provided to me since I'm in it, is that writing is not like a singular activity. Like good writing takes time and it goes through revisions and is like a community practice, which I think is so awesome. So when I had told one of my clients that I was going to be taking your workshop because she, long story short, the nonprofit that she's working at is winding down operations and eventually going to close, but she's going to start back up her consulting side business. And she was like looking at my website and being like, hey, you don't even talk about like half the shit you've done with me. And I was like, yeah, because I made that in 2022 and I have not touched it again.
Yeah.
since then. And so I was like, I'm working on it. I'm in a space. And then it was like, and I am definitely going to like send my stuff over to you and be like, does this sound like the human that you've been working with? And if it's not, please challenge me on it, because it is hard to write about yourself and what you do, because we're often like really critical of ourselves or overly perfectionist about our own writing, which is hard.
And that's just like the tip of the iceberg. Like, even if you didn't have those two, like, confidence issues, which is so common, it's also just, literally difficult to flip around and see what you do from the outside, especially because Like some of the things that you're really good at that you do without thinking about that like change somebody's freaking life, like it wouldn't even occur to you to talk about that. It's not even it's not even always because you're like, oh, that's not a big deal. It's just because you're like just glaze over it. Yeah, it's not easy to do, and it's like I also think I'm glad I remembered this because I was like, oh, I gotta say this other thing that's important. I think that the way that I used to be like a boutique, like fancy copywriter that got paid a ton of money and worked for like sort of highfalutin brands, the resources that businesses like that have to work with somebody like me aren't available to a smaller scale business. Like you're doing a 5-figure launch or you're doing, you know, I don't know, $200K a year or something like that. Like you're not spending $8,000-$10,000 to hire me just to write your website copy, and then all you get at the end of it, I mean, you get a bunch of brand, you know, messaging work and all these things, but really at the end you just get Google Docs. Like you don't have a website, you just have words. It just doesn't. I just think that whole model is like, I wanted to trash it because like there's no reason why the two of you shouldn't have access to that kind of support. And that's a big part of my why too, is like, I don't like it to be so siloed anymore. And I don't, it's too much writing. It's just too much writing for one person to do all by themselves with, even if you can somehow work out your life so you have the capacity to do it without any kind of writing support, how to be good at writing. It's like just extra hard. And then all the things that people are reaching for to fill that gap are not helping because it's just like swipe files. It's like Mad Libs, somebody else's writing style that you're like plugging into yours. And that's why nobody uses those. You get them and you're like, okay, I have this template, but like I want to change this, or I don't really like this. And then you're just not really saving yourself the time and effort that you were trying to save. So that's why I'm like, why don't we just learn how to be good writers? It's way more fun too.
Yeah. And it's a skill that you can use beyond, honestly.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I've been noticing that lately with a lot of people's email newsletters that I am like subscribed to. I'm like, you're literally using the same like the same selling template, which is not appealing to me at all. You know?
Yeah.
So unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe. I get these emails from this person who I really, really like her work. She's a strength coach, and she was never very frequent with her emails, but lately she's been very frequent with her emails, and they're bad. Like they're not good. I think AI is writing them.
Probably. Yeah.
Which is in and of itself, like, has context. That's not like a good or bad thing on its face, but it's like, I don't know, they're just, it's like I could tell it's trying to do a thing and falling short of doing it well every time.
Yeah.
That's such a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Well,
that was a...
It's true.
It's not like I haven't tried to full pitch her.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that. Well, we are going to pivot now to what we refer to as the hot seat questions.
Oh gosh.
They're fun. They'll be fun. And they're also, I should just warn you, they're very random.
Okay.
So we're gonna go from one place to another and then to another. Okay. And they're just fun and there to spark some good conversation. So the first one, I always start with this one, is what is the best and or worst advice you've received in your career?
I think the worst advice I've received in my career was to always sell in every email and or write a type of email like based on a selling mentality, you know, like make it all about like how to work with me and all related to that. And the reason that I was never sending consistent newsletters is because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I'm writing what I want, and now I'm sending emails every week. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it also speaks to like that, the true human side of everything. Like, I don't want you to pitch to me every single time you reach out to me, whether that's through email, through all of your, social media posts, whatever. Like, I don't want you to constantly be selling me something.
No.
If you're going to build a relationship with someone,
Mm-hmm.
you need to build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
You need to have relatable content for them that isn't just revolving around you selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always relate it to like the dating/marriage analogy. Like, how would it feel if every day I asked you to marry me and it was just real creepy and weird? Like, I mean, that's what those like sales pitch emails feel like. It's just like, you don't even know what the fuck I want. Like, and you're just like, come on in, so.
Ashlyn, I'm going to reuse that.
I love to use like other life analogies with things, lots of car and sports and dating.
My niece
But
asks me to marry her pretty often. I say yes every time.
Yeah.
She goes, will you marry me?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
All right. Like Tori said, we are pivoting all over the place with questions. So
I know. I shut up. Next question.
Nah, it's okay. Good. So I'm in the craft, and like I said, I really love it, and I love the style of it. So so far, we're halfway through. But I was curious, how and when did you decide to create that kind of offer for your business? Like, what was the genesis of it? Of like creating this kind of multi-week workshop to kind of help folks through, and feel free to talk about the other things that you offer.
Okay.
Under the umbrella.
So I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but I actually took another leap like last year because I burned my whole company down and rebranded. So that happened because I had most of my revenue and time tied up with one big ass client. And that client fell through. And I spent about a year just like tinkering. My old brand was called Cult of Personality, which I was still pretty fond of, but I had a really cool website for it. I spent a bunch of money on photos, design, all the things. And it was like edgy. And I spent a bunch of time kind of still sticking with that brand, but like, okay, well, I'm going to offer like launch services, but for smaller launches, or I'm going to offer like, I have this e-commerce like skill. I could do like a whole e-commerce setup. I don't know. I just tinkered with a lot of stuff, made a bunch of landing pages, kind of got really excited and then deflated on everything. For a while, I was like, I had this business coach. It was like, why don't you just work on emails? That's like 90% of what you've done in your career. And you could just like do that in your sleep. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be the email copywriter. And then I like did literally nothing about that decision, which tells me like, I just wasn't excited about it. I didn't want to do it. And the people, again, with like the scale of what all I can do in someone's email marketing program are people I don't want to work with anymore. So even though I could segment a list of 500,000 people and create an email marketing program and execute it in, Active Campaign or Kit, which is like not something I would offer, but I could do. Like, even though I could do all of that, I don't want to. So I was like back and forth with that. And then I thought, I got to the point where I was just like so dangerously broke. And it had been so long. I had not been able to recoup that income from that big client. And I was like, kind of like, what can I do to bring in money? It's just an unromantic way. But I was like, I could teach. I never wanted to be a person who like had like, first I'm a copywriter. I knew so many copywriters who were like, I used to be a copywriter and now I'm not anymore. I've graduated. I'm a creative director now. And I just saw that as my career path. Like, it always kind of bummed me out. Like, then in my mind, and I know this is immature, but I was like, then you were never really a copywriter.
Also, and that's like so fraught because you'll just piss off graphic designers who wanted to be the creative director.
Yeah.
Because that's like attention point of when the creative director comes from the copy side or the graphic design
I know, and I didn't even know that, but I do know someone who is a creative director and she's very good at it. And I talked to her and I was like, what do you do? And she told me all this stuff that she does. And I was like, yeah, I don't do any of that shit. And I'm not going to. I'm not directing a photo shoot. Like, no, I write words. I have cool ideas. I can figure out problems. Anyway, so I, on the side, have been editing books for this whole time. I work with authors. I have this one romantasy author who was like doing romantasy before it was cool.
Cool.
And she's 7 books in. I've been working with her for a long time. I have someone else who has like a sci-fi thing. It's like my side hustle that I've like gradually been building up since I had to rebrand. So I've attended like a ton of writing conferences, and I've like attended creative writing workshops, and I have creative writing that I've done. I know a lot about writing craft, and none of it I learned from the world of copywriting. All of it I learned from the world of literary writing. And I noticed that there just isn't, there's a gap between these two worlds that I like kind of straddle. And like never the twain shall meet. Like in the entrepreneurial world, the way copywriting is taught is very action oriented. It's very like, let me teach you how to write a sales page so that someone will do X. And then it's like, let me teach you how to write a testimonial that reflects what you do. It's all very like agenda laden. And when you go to like a writing conference and you learn like world building from some fantasy author, you learn like, how do I create a world where it's believable and the rules make sense? I'm not trying to get anybody to do anything. I'm just trying to build scaffolding so this shit all holds together. Or you learn like what is showing versus telling. The first time I taught the craft, I did this module on showing versus telling, and I asked people, what do you think? Ashlyn, spoiler, this is coming your way. What do you think this is? And the answers people gave me like shocked me. I was like, they don't know. They don't actually know what the difference is. They know showing means I'm showing you a testimonial to show you that my client made $10 million. Telling means I just told you that someone made $10 million. And I'm like, that is not what, that's not what, I mean, that's not an answer, but like, that's not what it is. So I have this unique kind of perspective because I travel in both worlds, and I have a lot to lend to entrepreneurs who are trying to write for themselves. Plus, workshops are the best. Writing workshops are so enlightening and encouraging and like confidence building in so many ways. And you also learn like when you're looking at someone else's writing, you're also developing your own critical eye for good writing. So then you become a better observer of your own writing. And at the same time, the person who is being critiqued, I don't know if either of you or anyone listening has gone to art school and had critiques in art class. Sometimes they can be really brutal. Sometimes they can be really kind. But the idea is observing makes you better at the thing. And it's putting the confidence, like I'm not the instructor on high that is like trickling my knowledge down to you and you just pick up what you can and leave. Like I'm stepping back and I'm like, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
And surprisingly, you have things that you think about it, and they're probably really insightful. So I just wanted to try, like, what if I try bringing this kind of element into the world of copywriting? And the first cohort I taught, like, just went so well. And people came up with really great writing, and it like changed the way they wrote, like right away. It wasn't something that they had to like sit on and like go through all the course material. I really wanted to do it live. I still do it live. I don't think I'll ever do it evergreen, although never say never. I never thought I'd teach a course on writing, so I am now. But yeah, and once I thought of naming it The Craft, man, it was on like gangbusters. Once I came up with that name, I was like, oh, I know what I could call it, The Craft.
Mm-hmm. I think it was like the imagery that you used. I mean, I'm definitely like wanted to be a witch on that like 90s. It came out in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
That was my jam.
Yeah, I pulled that movie poster up on my laptop and drew it on my Remarkable.
On your
Yeah.
Oh, you have one too?
I do.
I have one too.
I do have one
too, yeah. Remarkable Club.
This is a podcast about Remarkables now.
Yes.
Now, yes,
They're
of
great.
course.
Sponsored by
That's
Remarkable.
awesome. The I love that so much. That's great. This is a little, I mean, yeah, this is definitely another left turn. So my next question for you would be what is a pet peeve that you have when looking at brands copywriting on their website?
It's something so nitpicky, and it's going to make a lot of people feel nervous. So just disclaimer, if you're doing what I'm about to say, don't freak out. I'm not judging you. Everybody does it. It's 2 words. Sound familiar? I don't know why. I hate it so much.
Sound familiar? Yep,
It's
I've seen that a lot.
the
I'm
compassionate.
now going to go see if it's on mine.
It probably is. Like, the compassionate answer is transitions are really, really hard. They're just really hard. That's an easy one. So I just usually, honestly, you just take it out and just go on to whatever you were going to say.
Yeah,
that's my fix.
I think that's fair.
But yeah, that's my
fair.
little. Ooh, ooh. Also, another one. There's a lot of people using the word y'all in their copy. I think because it's gender neutral and cool, the apostrophe goes after the Y, not the A.
Yes.
The Y. Yeah.
Yep.
Hot tip.
That is a good tip. You actually posted that on your Instagram recently, and I went back and I was like, I just want to make sure. Like, I always have the panic moment, regardless of if I'm doing it right or wrong. Like, I always have the moment of panic anytime somebody says something. I'm like, am I doing? Okay.
I mean,
well, I think that's like. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, if you're doing that, you're not like a bad person.
Right.
Like, people will still buy your stuff.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think that's really real. Like, we need to like forgive ourselves when we make mistakes. Like, you forgot the link in the thing. You had the wrong price on your page. Your shit says 2024 and we're like in 2025. Like, it's so much to update shit. And
oh my God.
And then also the people who become really, really big sticklers about stuff like that. I'm like, I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
If you are that like nitpicky and unforgiving, like mistakes happen.
Mistakes happen. And the thing that I always like to think about is like the people, like the news has made mistakes before, like on the, you know, like every news station has at least once,
correction,
like, if not more than once, you know. Yeah. And I like to think about stuff like that, where it's like even the people who are the best in the world at this thing make mistakes, because at the end of the day, we're all human.
Yeah. But isn't it like Amazon sent out a fake, like their test email by accident, or like their template? Like, you know, like even big companies have shit happen.
One time, like, you know? One time when I had my client with the 500,000 person email list, I had copied and pasted. I was, for some reason, in charge of ActiveCampaign, and I had copied and pasted the email into it, but I forgot to, I must have copied it and pasted it on my own inbox, but basically everyone on that list got an email that said, "Hi, Sam." And so many people wrote back and they were like, "Who's Sam?"
That happens. Don't forget to do your merge things with the first name.
The invisible copywriter.
And we all do it. We've all made mistakes, and we're all going to keep making mistakes. Like, it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Today.
Okay. So I know you do a ton of copywriting.
I do.
How do you overcome perfectionism and just let the writing stand?
That's a really good question. When I'm writing for clients, I don't have nearly as much perfectionism as when I'm writing for myself. I also do have to say there's something about the fact that I'm just doing it constantly, where the more you do something, the easier it gets. The more I send my email out every week, the more comfortable I am with, like, I don't have to have this all figured out. I don't have to send an email that's like, here's the complete answer that I figured out. I'm just writing this email about this thing that I think
it's half formed. Here you go. So I get a lot more comfortable with that the longer that I'm just doing it consistently. And that's just a huge part of it. And I think that's kind of an answer for a lot of just things, is just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again. I also, perfectionism, I think what I tell other people, I don't have so much perfectionism with my own writing anymore, just because I've been at it for a long time and I worked on it a lot, and I've realized that like nobody, like, think of like your favorite writer. They've written something they think is absolute shit. They absolutely have. They've been frustrated. They've wanted to chuck their laptop in the river. It's not part of it. It's just how it is. I think what I tell my people in the craft and clients, like I have this other thing called the remix, where I take your work and rewrite it basically. But it's still your words somehow. It's like that pressure, putting so much pressure on yourself for the piece of writing to be whatever perfect means, is the thing that's making the writing not as good. Yeah. So if it's like you're damming the flow, you're plugging up the river with a bunch of mud, and you just gotta clear the mud out. It's a writerly metaphor for you, but I think that's something that is like, that's not doing you any good. It's not doing your writing any good. So it's also a very human thing to just experience and be stressed about. But I think the thing that helps, and it's another reason why I'm so intense about the workshop format, let other people read it. That's a huge way to get over the perfectionism, is like, don't hide it. Let other people see it and tell you it's good, because it probably is good. You got to have one person that you trust to be honest with you, that is not going to lie to you. And we are in the common, we all have a person like that. Business owners all have a friend who's going to be like, this isn't great. and you have a relationship with them where you're not going to take that personally. Or like, I have never said that about anyone's writing that's ever shown it to me. And it's not because I'm lying. It's just because no piece of writing is ever as bad as you think it is. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of other people's writing. I've gotten projects that I get for the first time and I'm like, oh, whoa, holy shit. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can fix this. And then I sit with it and I'm like, I always find good stuff. Always. And I always come out with something good in the end. Yeah. That's like my little private process as an editor, but like, I've never not been able to work with something.
So. That's really encouraging, because we all just have different ways of saying things and different strengths, and that's awesome. Yeah. Well, we are coming to our very last question, which we are asking everybody with one, because we are making a playlist of sorts. But what is on repeat right now on your playlist?
Ooh, I like this question. Okay. I'm like afraid that I don't know what other answers are people giving. I want to know the playlist, but I recently heard this really beautiful new song by My Morning Jacket. They have a new album out, and I think it's the single from their album. It's called Time Wasted. It just has Time Waited. It's called Time Waited. It has the most beautiful piano riff. It's a very good like springtime vibe. And I've been feeling it. My second answer is I've really been enjoying Lady Gaga's new album. So there's two very different vibes for you.
And that's great. We have everything. All of our answers are everything from like modern day stuff to like, now of course that you said that, I'm like,
Megan Ekman said Ghost, the weird I don't even know how to describe their band. It's an international,
really obscure answers. We've had really like old time music. We've had like somebody said a classical one at one point that they does on repeat for them.
Yeah.
Like just a full variety.
Yeah.
And that's been the fun part of this. So when we finally publish that playlist, it'll be very
that's
random.
Gonna be so cool. I do listen to what I listen to mostly is like lounge music on my headphones when I'm working.
Nice.
My algorithm is a little fucked because of that. It's like, here's a new release. Or I listen to like binaural beats a lot when I'm sleeping, and it's like,
I do that too.
New release.
I do that too. And I'll have like, I found like different ones for like, oh, I have a headache. And so I found like one for that, or like, I need to focus. The other thing I do is I'll sometimes like go on YouTube and look up music that has like a ambiance with it. So like sometimes we'll do like a cozy vibes, or like more of like a fantasy world vibe or something, whatever I'm in the mood for that day. And then I'll just like put it up on my screen and then work with the music and pretend I'm like in a little hobbit hole working. So
I'm never really working in silence.
Yeah.
Me either. Yeah. It's been a lot of Real Housewives on the side.
Oh yeah.
And then also music. But I feel like my algorithm's going to be completely fucked up because my husband and I have started sharing the Apple Music account, which is great sometimes because I'm like, ooh, I would have never discovered that. But then other times I'm like, oh shit, my like discovery, like the things I want playlist is not necessarily things I want right now.
Well, having a kid will really fuck up your algorithm.
Oh, yes.
All frozen.
The Moana soundtrack right now is slapping. Yep. Last year we were really into Snoop Dogg's album for kids. He does the affirmation song. So if you ever need any inspiration in the morning, that's what we listened to on repeat for a while.
Great. What a crazy thing to be this age.
Yep.
Like you still get to listen to Snoop Dogg.
Exactly. Just hits a little different. I love it. Well, before we kind of wrap this up, we just want to ask you, is there anything that you want to plug, anything you want to talk about, anything we didn't cover that you want to bring up?
Yes, there is. What I would really like for people to do is sign up for my newsletter. I think I gave you guys that link, but if not,
if not, we'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the show notes.
I'm really excited about how I'm doing it now. So I'm posting like an essay, like, I don't know, kind of thinky, culturally relevant. Sometimes I talk about TV shows I'm watching. I talk about like storytelling. I wrote a bunch of emails about Severance when Severance was on. That is like available to everyone, whether you're a subscriber or not. And I just figured out this like differentiator, so I'm excited. So that's like that's what my Substack is. That's like if you go to my creator profile on Kit, that's like for everyone. But then the Sunday coffee break is the one that I was talking about, where it's only for subscribers. And every other Sunday, it's like, here's a piece of writing, has merit in itself, but also is using pieces of writing craft. And then the next Sunday, I kind of break down like what went into that piece. And so far, I've been getting good responses from it. And it's also just been really fun for me to work on because I'm writing about everything from like a foggy weekend I spent at the beach one time to like something relevant to the work that I do or anything in between. It's like, I think I get off easy being a writer because all I have to do is write. I don't have to like do the other work. I just have to keep writing. So. But
now I have to go back and go read your thing. Now that I've finished the second season of Severance, go back and read the stuff about Severance.
It was about suspense in writing.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being on. This is a great conversation. And like we said, if you want to subscribe to your newsletter or check out anything, all of her links will be in the show notes. So go ahead and check that out. And thank you so much for tuning in this week. And if you have any questions, you want to suggest a guest or talk to us about anything, feel free to shoot us a DM on Instagram. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Take the Leap podcast. We hope you found useful takeaways you can apply to your entrepreneurial journey. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and keep in touch and follow us on Instagram. If you have business questions, shoot us a direct message or leave us a comment. We'll try to cover it in an upcoming episode. And visit our website, taketheleap-today.com, for more resources like our online course that accompanies this podcast.